Today, in this explainer, we're charting a course straight into the most infamous, heavily debated, and frankly, deeply feared stretch of ocean in the entire world. It's a place where the line between historical fact and wild mythology is just completely blurred. We're looking at a maritime legend that has literally haunted sailors, pilots, and researchers for decades. I'm talking, of course, about the Bermuda Triangle.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to imagine a scenario for a second. Just picture it. It's a perfectly clear day, you're flying in a modern aircraft, or maybe sailing a massive state-of-the-art ship. Everything is fine, and then suddenly, your instruments go haywire. The horizon seems wrong, the radio fades out to pure static, and then nothing. You just vanish. There's no distress signal, there's absolutely no wreckage left behind for families to bury. Over the years, entire squadrons of planes and enormous ships have seemingly vanished without a trace in this exact manner. So the ultimate question, the one that has driven people absolutely crazy trying to answer, is simple. Where did they go?
Well, before we can talk about the disappearances, we really need to map out our territory here. You see, the Bermuda Triangle isn't some officially recognized political boundary. It's just a loosely defined region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean. The points of this theoretical triangle basically connect Miami, Florida, the island of Bermuda, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. It is a massive, massive expanse of deep, volatile blue water. And within these boundaries, some of the strangest maritime mysteries in human history have supposedly taken place. Section 1, The Legend of Flight 19. Let's go back to December 5th, 1945. World War II has literally just ended. 5 U.S. Navy TBM Avenger bombers, known collectively as Flight 19, launched on what's supposed to be a completely routine overwater training mission from Florida. But shortly into the flight, the pilots radio in. They're reporting severe navigation difficulties. They actually don't know which way is west, and they report that the ocean just looks completely wrong. Eventually, all contact is lost. But get this, the tragedy doesn't end there. A massive Martin Mariner flying boat is immediately dispatched as a rescue aircraft to search for them, and then that rescue plane vanishes too. Over the coming weeks, the Navy conducts one of the largest searches in history, yet to this very day, no confirmed wreckage of Flight 19 or the rescue plane has ever been found.
So the crucial point is this. How in the world do 6 military aircraft and 27 men just disappear? Investigators point to highly probable yet terrifyingly normal factors that likely caused the tragedy. We're talking about a combination of severe navigation errors by the flight leader, rapidly deteriorating weather, ultimate fuel exhaustion forcing a deadly ditching in rough seas, and just pure spatial confusion. This really sets up the core conflict of our entire discussion today, the battle between grounded reality and skyrocketing myth.
Now, keep the year 1964 in mind. It's really important. Because despite the Flight 19 tragedy happening back in 1945, the mystery kind of just simmered for almost 2 decades. It wasn't until 1964 that a writer named Vincent Gaddis penned an article where he officially coined the incredibly catchy name, the Bermuda Triangle. And let me tell you, that single phrase acted like a match in a powder keg. It instantly supercharged public interest and paved the way for countless books and documentaries. Section 2. Aliens and Atlantis. First up on this supernatural fringe is the theory of extraterrestrial activity. For a lot of people, the utter lack of physical wreckage in cases like Flight 19 is simply too bizarre for normal explanations. Supporters of this theory are quick to point to the missing vehicles and historical reports of unusual lights in the sky over the Atlantic. The logic is simple, but I gotta admit, pretty eerie. If they didn't sink to the bottom of the ocean, well, perhaps they were pulled up into the sky. It makes the idea of otherworldly abduction incredibly tempting for believers. And this brilliantly illustrates the divide we constantly see when analyzing the triangle. Look, while pop culture absolutely loves the highly sensational idea of extraterrestrial abduction fueled by mystery, the scientific consensus is incredibly stark. There is zero empirical data, no physical proof, and absolutely no scientific backing to support the idea that alien beings are just plucking planes and ships from this specific patch of the Atlantic. But hey, aliens aren't the only supernatural culprits folks talk about. There's also the Atlantis theory. This is the really romantic but pretty spooky notion that the Bermuda Triangle sits directly above the sunken, legendary lost city of Atlantis. Proponents of this theory actually speculate that this lost civilization possessed highly advanced ancient technology, maybe powerful energy crystals, that are supposedly still active down in the unexplored depths, malfunctioning and basically pulling modern ships beneath the waves. I mean, the idea of ancient technology disrupting our modern machines makes for a phenomenal story, right? Stories of uncharted, deep oceans are undeniably captivating. But once again, the scientific view is absolute here. There is no archaeological proof whatsoever that Atlantis exists anywhere on Earth, let alone at the very bottom of the Bermuda Triangle.
Section 3. Magnets and methane gas.
Have you ever heard that compasses just spin wildly out of control in the Bermuda Triangle? That is the magnetic anomaly theory. This claim suggests that there is a unique, highly mysterious magnetic field in this specific region that causes massive navigational instrument failures. Spinning compasses and lost pilots became a terrifying staple of the Triangle's lore, basically suggesting that the very Earth itself is working against you in these waters. Well, let's debunk this magnetic myth right now. Instead of some mysterious, localized magnetic forces, science actually tells us that Earth's magnetic field naturally changes and shifts all over the globe, not just here. Furthermore, older, mid-20th century navigation systems were simply prone to misreading true north versus magnetic north. It was human error and system limitations, for sure, not some sci-fi magnetic vortex. Okay, let's move on and see how this builds into one of the most fascinating mechanical theories, methane gas. Just consider the mechanics here for a second. Naturally occurring methane gas builds up under the ocean floor until a seismic event causes massive gas bubbles to release and rise rapidly to the surface. As this gas mixes with the water density drastically drops. So a ship passing over this exact spot would instantly lose its buoyancy and drop like a stone to the bottom of the ocean. It is a terrifying, almost cinematic thought. But what's the catch? Well, while massive methane releases do happen naturally in the ocean, and theoretically they could totally sink a ship, there is simply not enough evidence to prove that a sudden methane eruption caused any of the famous Bermuda Triangle disappearances. It is scientifically possible, sure, but historically unproven as the real culprit. Section 4. The scientific reality. So we've stripped away the aliens, the sunken cities, the rogue magnets, and the giant gas bubbles. What are we actually left with? Researchers all agree that the vast majority of tragedies here are caused by very real, very normal killers. Severe storms, including sudden, violent hurricanes, and incredibly strong ocean currents, like the Gulf Stream, which can literally erase a crash site in hours. Combine that with human error, mechanical equipment failure, and massive, massive oceanic distances that make rescue operations nearly impossible. Trust me, these elements don't need any supernatural help to be absolutely deadly. Furthermore, context is literally everything. We naturally want to believe in a spooky, supernatural phenomenon because it's interesting. But here is the cold reality. This is an incredibly heavily traveled area. The Bermuda Triangle is one of the busiest shipping lanes and flight routes on the entire planet. Statistically speaking, if you have thousands upon thousands of ships and planes crossing a treacherous stretch of ocean every single year, a higher number of tragic accidents is simply a statistical inevitability. There are no more disappearances here by percentage than in any other heavily trafficked part of the ocean.
Section 5. Why the mystery remains.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is, if science can explain almost all of it through weather, human error, and statistics, why does society still cling so hard to the legend? Well, the myth of the Bermuda Triangle thrives because it is a masterclass in storytelling. It combines real, undeniable tragic events like the very real loss of the 27 men in Flight 19 with our deep, innate human curiosity for the unknown. When confronted with a senseless tragedy and a total lack of closure, like a missing plane with zero wreckage, people are just desperate to find meaning. We would almost rather believe in an ancient curse or alien abductions than accept the cold, random cruelty of a sudden storm. And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. The science is settled, the statistics are clear, and the natural dangers are incredibly well documented. But facts rarely destroy a truly captivating story. As the saying goes, the truth may be ordinary, but the mystery remains. So the next time a plane vanishes from radar, will you look to the weather or will you look to the stars?